Hello, welcome to AP Sources Simplified. Today we are putting into context and reviewing the Second Great Awakening, which runs roughly from 1790 to 1840. This will not be a deep dive into the Second Great Awakening itself, but more we will look at what forces influenced the beginning of it and what type of effect it had on society. First, let's take a look at the United States leading into the Second Great Awakening. America in the 1790s was now under a new government, the recently ratified Constitution. During this decade, the first president was elected, George Washington, and the second president, John Adams, had a turbulent time in office. Along with this turbulence came the formation of the first political parties, the Federalist and Democratic Republicans. The French Revolution was raging in Europe and it affected society and politics in the US as revolutionary ideas spread to the US. Domestically, we need to cover the status of women, as they will be major players in the Second Great Awakening. Females had very few political rights and were expected to play a subservient role to men in what was very much a patriarchy. Women were expected to stay in their social sphere, which included the cult of domesticity, in which a woman should focus on home life, raising her children, be pious, and obey her husband. A slightly elevated thought was that of Republican motherhood, in which a woman has the important role of educating her sons to be intelligent and involved citizens in the new republic. So there are some big questions we need to ask. Would the American Revolution, the new Constitution, and Bill of Rights affect gender roles and religion? Would revolutionary ideas also spread to the family and Christianity? I do not usually like to quote straight from the College Board curriculum, but I think in this case, it gives a nice starting point with our analysis of the Second Great Awakening. The curriculum says, quote, "The rise of democratic and individualistic beliefs, a response to rationalism, and changes to society caused by the market revolution, along with a greater social and geographical mobility, contributed to the Second Great Awakening among Protestants that influenced moral and social reforms and inspired utopian and other religious movements." So they give both in that long sentence there the causes of the Second Great Awakening and also some of its effects. But now we need to provide some specific evidence for that content standard. Unlike Puritan beliefs, which emphasized predestination, the focus of the Second Great Awakening was on the second coming of Christ. So if Jesus is coming back, humans need to tidy up the place a bit by reforming society. The biggest impact of the movement is among women. Evangelical missions gave women more status, which also gave them more purpose. The awakening was most active in upstate New York, which was called the Burned Over District because of all the fire and brimstone preachers and revivals. But the meetings stretched across the country, and they were very popular on the frontier. Charles Finney became the most well-known preacher of the time. New religious groups and utopian societies formed. Some great examples are the Shakers and Mormons. Finally, let's look at some of the big impacts of the Second Great Awakening. Its powerful idea of perfecting society leads to broader movements, including the abolition of slavery, temperance movement, women's rights and suffrage movement, transcendentalism, and many more like education and prison reform. Women played a prominent role in all of these movements, with some notable names like Susan B. Anthony, the Grimke sisters, Sojourner Truth, and Margaret Fuller. The Second Great Awakening also fits nicely with the era of the common man, as voting rights for non-property owning white men were expanded. This is also known as the Jacksonian era. The expansion of these political rights in the Second Great Awakening had the great impact of increasing involvement in politics and society overall. Okay, that does it for the Second Great Awakening. Like and subscribe to the channel if you want more AP exam review and primary source explanations.